Good afternoon. Wendell Daniel, CEO and founder of All Pest Solutions, and I come to you this afternoon, and my special guest today is Jacob Daniel, our Chief of Operations, and my partner and successor. Today we're just going to start a segment called Straight Talk with All Pest Solutions, where we're going to, in the upcoming months, have a monthly podcast and talk to you all about things that involve the pest control industry. We're going to start today's podcast. We're really just trying to get a foundation, if you will, on us as individuals and the company itself. So I'm going to start off by a little bit of bio on me, and then I'll pass it to Jacob and let him tell you a little bit about himself. So, again, my name is Wendell Daniel. I'm 54 years old. We reside in Wylie, Texas. Been here since 1985. I moved to East Texas when I was 5. Mom and Dad owned a country store, so small business was, I guess, a foundation of my upbringing. And so went from that experience to being a store director for Walmart for 16 years. Had a small stint with a small independent pest control company, and then worked for the world's largest for 6 years, and then started my own. And so our business literally started as a family business, still is a family business today, and been in business 20 years now. And that's kind of, I guess you'd say, my bio. I'm going to pass it off to Jacob and let him tell you a little bit about himself.
A little nervous over there, Dad. So my name is Jacob. I'm 31. I've been in the industry, which, I guess you could say I was kind of born and bred into what we do today. I was born in Wylie, the last batch of babies here. I worked a few small odd and end jobs, did a lot of welding, some other small things up to the age of 16. In our industry at that time, the age needed to become licensed in this industry was 16. And now it's 18,
Correct.
I believe. And so basically within the same week, I got my driver's license and my pest and termite license. And then it was kind of history in the making and then moving forward. But I've been licensed since then. And I ran a pest control route all through high school. And, up to that point, I was working as a senior half days, Wylie High, and building a route. And I did that till about 2012 when we kicked off our wildlife division and kind of transferred that over to another technician there. And then we just kind of continued picking up with that. And then I later on got my CA, which in our business, in order to do this, just like a plumber or HVAC or anything else, you've got to have, you've got masters that everyone else works underneath, if you will, like master plumber, master electrician, et cetera, journeyman, all those things. In our industry, that's a certified applicator or a CA. Currently, he is the CA for the business, and then I became a CA in 2020 for the long-term plan. And then later on, we'll hopefully transfer that, and then I'll become the CA on file. But that's kind of more or less my history. It's been all about all pests since the beginning.
Absolutely. The interesting thing is when we started the company, literally the kids and I gathered around the table and literally, Jacob's a very talented individual, and he literally created our logo at maybe 6, 7 years old.
No, I wouldn't. Because we were at the new house at that time. So when we moved in, that was 2002, where the office is now. When we moved in,
correct.
So we incorporated in 2003. So I might have been 13,
Gotcha.
12, 13,
Gotcha.
something like that.
So, we literally, when we talk about, being a family-owned business, it literally started from building the logo to our name. We kicked those around on the dinner table. Every piece of this business is family-oriented. And so one of the things I want to talk about today is just a little bit about our business, but we've already touched base on it. But the biggest one, and one of our goals is in these podcasts, is obviously to educate the consumer about our industry. And one of the huge things about that is being a family business, but but that were not for sale. And so I opened with, me being the founder and CEO and Jacob being a chief of operations and my successor. The key word there is successor. And that we're not for sale. We don't have any long-term plans of going anywhere other than building a generation to generation business. And so, literally, if I die tomorrow, Jacob will continue this business on. I mean, we've been grooming him literally since he was 13 years old. And that's one of the biggest differences with us as a pest control company when you start choosing versus others. And so that's one point, that I wanted to talk about. I can literally remember when Jacob started riding with me.
Well, and then again, that you talk about 12, 13 years old when we round tabled there at the house, working on logos, working on colors, working on themes, working on catchphrases and all those things. But I worked with you much longer before that.
Correct.
With the previous stints, previous companies and things that you had worked in the past. I mean, hell, I was selling pest control at 10 years old. Now, then again, our video that is probably coming out soon here about door knocking, we used to do back in the day. But it's a lot different when it's a 10-year-old knocking on your door versus a paid salesman, But although it worked a lot, but back then that's all I could do. I wasn't licensed, so I could not apply pesticides, but I could go hound out business cards and say, "Hey, Dad's down the street killing bugs. Are you in or not?" But that's how I did that summers from 10 to then.
Absolutely, and I would get tickled at him, and Jacob understood the value of $1 early. I'd tell him, "So man, go out and I'll give you a percentage of that." And by the time I'd get one service, he'd done have 2 or 3 sold. And we literally started with me and one truck, and I don't know, we're 20 trucks a day and growing. God's been good to us. Business is good. We're trying to do lots of things here today, and one is build brand, but the other is really more importantly is educate our consumer.
Which anymore, that's pretty much 80% of our job anymore. I mean, hell, even with Wesley and Firehouse Heating and Air, I mean, he's just trying to educate with some of the other founding principles of what you're trying to do, right? You're trying to, educate per certain situations. But we tell our guys every day, it's 80% relationship and 20% service. Sometimes that's hard to do, and sometimes it's easy to get tunnel vision and just service and get to the next one. But there are so many things that we need homeowners to do or customers to just like, hey, we need to do this versus this so that what I'm going to do here works the way it's supposed to. So we're constantly educating, we're just trying to do it a different way.
Yeah. I'm going to touch a little bit about what some of our future podcasts for you to look forward to and be watching for. And obviously we want you to share and like this and become followers of us. But we're going to have a wildlife segment where I'll have Jacob back on as well and talk in depth about our wildlife division and how we differ in the industry and what that means to the consumer. We're going to talk about termites and then general pest control and how we differ there in the industry as well. We're going to have some of our preferred vendors on our program, as well as some of our long-term customers at some point. And so those are some of the things to look forward to. Jacob, just tell the audience a little bit in your words of how you think we differ as a company foundationally wise in the industry.
I think the biggest thing that sets us apart from everybody else, which is also one of the hardest things to manage, is that we try our best to keep technicians with the customer at which they serviced. It's easy to look at it from a profitability standpoint when you have, 2 different technicians servicing the customer side by side on the same street. But you can't replace the value of the relationship with that technician. It's so many times if we've had a tech change for whatever reason, the biggest kickback we get is why did you send somebody else? That's the biggest thing that we're trying to do. And then again, in most cases, that's CRM. That's customer relationship marketing. And it's just something we fundamentally live by day in and day out. We want them to stay with that technician. And again, that builds his route. It makes him more money, and he can grow and build off of that. But customers like that. They don't like to change to other people when they know that Mrs. Jones has specific needs Fridays before lunch. Those technicians can do that.
Well, we have discovered literally, we've asked our office admin on a regular basis, what is the number 1 and 2 question you get asked when a potential customer calls in. One is do you make us sign a contract? And that's one of the things that we don't do as a company. If you sell anything termite, the state requires that you have some type of contract. But on the pest control side, we do not. And most companies do that so they can lock you down. But we want you to do business with us because of that relationship that Jacob talked about, and not a piece of paper. The other one is the number one complaint of why they're looking or why they're shopping is that, either the company I had sold out and now it's another big company and I don't like them, or every time that company comes out, it's somebody different. And we really try hard for that to, one of the proudest things that as an owner, for Jacob and I both, is for one of our customers to call one of our technicians by name and say, that's my technician. And I take Denny, for example, been with us. He was our first hire, has been with us, I think, 16 or 17 years. And he literally has a cult following, and they all literally call him my technician. And he's had some customers that have literally moved out of our trade territory that we don't service and won't take no for an answer, that we go with them. Denny has one that's on Lake Texoma that wouldn't take no for an answer.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
but that says a lot about that relationship that Jacob talked about.
Well,
what else do you think that we?
Well, to add to that, Denny usually spends the day or two before Christmas just driving around collecting Christmas gifts from his customers. Run a whole route of hobnobbing.
That's for sure. What else do you think separates us apart?
Trying to think. We run.
I'd say our experience at the top of our sign there, experience the ultimate value, integrity, and trust would be one of them.
And then again, all of that kind of ties into all of that aspect. It just is. Again, we go back to the contract philosophy, right? So many pest controls do that. Really, so many other service contractors do that because it is the value. The value is in the contract, whether it's a year or two, no different than phone companies or other things. But, say we've been living in weird times with COVID and now this weird economy that we're within. There's a lot of ups and downs. People lose their jobs. We're in between. If you don't need or can't afford the pest control, just call us, and it'll be, there won't be no lash, no hard feelings. We understand. We'll ask why, but then life will continue. It's just, we want people to do business with us because they like us and they like what we do.
That's fact.
I think that's a big founding principle of the ultimate value, integrity, and trust. And that we're not here just to make a dollar. We are here for profit. It is a business, but we understand. At the end of the day, I think people relate to that.
Yeah.
No different than a lot of the changes that we made during COVID and trying to become more paperless, and hard times create a need to be more efficient, and
right.
That turned out well for us.
Right.
But we've always prided ourselves with. Again, I've always done that for years. Built our trucks. We set them up for our guys. The tablet system that we've run forever allows the boys flexibility. That's a big one. That allows the additional value, and then direct technician communication, where they have the authority to go and do, which we're finding is tough with other softwares as we try to grow, because nobody else does it like that. Yep. We use Denny for an example. Somebody can call Denny direct and go, hey, I've got an explosion of ants over here. He can create it, schedule it, and go do it. It doesn't even have to come to us. We don't have to dictate anything. That's value in and of itself.
Well, that's a huge one for sure that most of the consumer world probably would never even think about, but our technicians do control their own schedule and their own customers. And we don't mix those. The only thing our office schedules is new things. They don't mess with the guys' routes and their regular reoccurring services. They just don't. Our people do that. I mean, we literally run them like little mini contractors. They have total control in the field. So it's a huge difference.
And a lot of that focus too is that, we generally care about our people. And if you care about your people, they care about the customers. If you got happy techs, you got happy customers, and that always transcends downhill. That's probably a big one that nobody sees on the regular, which would allow a difference.
Yeah, I know it's easy for me to sit here and say this, but I know it because I've proved it time and time again. We actually pay our guys better than the industry average, and we run about twice the chemical costs of the industry average.
Pretty close.
We don't skimp on those things, and all that equates to value to the customer, so.
Yeah.
Well, sure. We're getting close. I wanted to touch base that we are accredited Better Business Bureau company. We're members of the National Pest Management Association as well as the Texas Pest Control Association. If you did not know, we are regulated by the Texas Department of Agriculture, so we do have a regulatory agency that we have to answer to. We are licensed and insured, obviously, and we carry literally, 5 times what the state requirement minimums are.
Yeah.
On insurance, just so that we're covered well for you and us. So as we wrap up today, Jacob, what else would you like to cover on the first segment here? Anything?
Oh goodness, I mean, there's so much. As a company, man, we sit here and we contemplate and we talk about it, but it's hard to break down, 18 years worth of data, on just trying to discuss it. I don't know what. As soon as we walk out of here, we'll probably go, should have thought about that.
It's funny you say 18. I bet we could go pull some numbers, and we'd probably be, both of us, surprised of how many 18-year customers we have. I bet it'd scare us both.
Yeah,
because we have a huge following and loyalty with our customer base. It's insane, and we're so appreciative of that. I do know that our next podcast, which will be in a month, is going to be back with Jacob and I again. We're going to literally break down, like shotgun, the wildlife division of our industry, which Jacob obviously created and runs for us, and we're going to talk about that in great detail. And we're going to have some props that day, and so I would encourage you to look for us as we come up in a month from now. And we're going to talk about, like I said, wildlife, and like us and share us, and remember us when you're looking for your pest control needs. And as we close there, Jacob, any final words?
I don't know what it would be. I just hope we're not going to melt to the pavement here in about a month. That's all.
If you're new to Texas, welcome, and summer is coming. But again, Wendell with All Pest Solutions and Jacob with All Pest Solutions, and we appreciate you joining us today on our first podcast. So we'll see you in a month with Straight Talk with All Pest Solutions.